Lucky you.
36 best
Tuned
holes in
into
golf.
Alternate Shots podcast,
Barney's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Sandy.
poker,
James Bond.
horse racing,
Double.
classic movies.
Zenyatta.
We have no script.
Down the stretch they
And
come.
we are glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Okay, Billy, back at it again right after the big gala where we all were dressed up in our rented or our not rented tight tuxedos. What did you think? Big 100th birthday party for Wingfoot.
As Edward G. Robinson of Warner Brothers, by the way, Warner Brothers is 100 years old, but he was one of their lead actors, said in Little Caesar, I'll put on the monkey suit. So that was, it was worth it at the end of the day. I think it was, it's not that easy to get 800 people in the same place, all in a good mood at the same time. So that just shows you the foundation that Wingfoot has with its members and everybody's memories of Wingfoot. They honored other members. It's overall it was a great night, in my opinion.
My hat's off. I congratulated personally and through email each of the organizers, Ken and Maureen, Rob, and gosh, they put a task in front of Mike Gilmore that was unattainable, right? They said you've got to introduce 4,672 people and you only have 3.5 minutes to do it.
Can you imagine if they put one of us up there to talk for 3 minutes? It's impossible.
We'd still be talking, and it's 2 days later, and the limos have come and gone, and the food trucks have come and gone.
Yeah, as evidenced by our podcast, which was supposed to be the 36 holes of Wingfoot, one episode per hole. We have about 40 episodes out there. We're about to address the 8th hole. So
yeah, and I think you and I spoke beginning of the year, end of last year, but 5 months ago. Maybe we could get through the 36 holes before the centennial.
Yeah,
we're not even close.
No, maybe the next centennial.
But we are on a press, and the 9th hole, the 8th hole is the number. What is it? The number 1 stroke hole. We're going to get to the 8th hole in a bit. We're going to talk about first, for people who want to know what we're going to talk about today, even though we don't have a script. Like Warner,
we might not end up covering all of it. So
Warner Brothers had scripts. I think they could vouch for that, right? They had a script to start with.
In most cases, yes, but ironically, Casablanca, which is their greatest claim to fame, they didn't have a script. The actors were getting it the day of the shooting, so they were never sure how that was going to turn out. There's all kinds of stories. So we might need to dedicate an entire podcast to the Warner Brothers 100 years and the awesome amount of films that came from them over the years.
Wasn't Casablanca Hal Wallace?
Yeah.
And guess what? Everybody knows a really easy one. If you said, what's the other one Hal Wallace did? Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do the theme song too well, but Max Steiner, how big was he?
Max Steiner was the music behind tons of movies, including King Kong. King Kong being one of the most underrated films of all time, because the animation and special effects in that movie in 1933 were as good as they are today. It was just a magnificent job they did with that movie, despite some of its silliness.
Back on the no script, though, I'm wearing my Wingfoot swimsuit t-shirt for all those swimmers. See, about 1958, 1960, I think Wingfoot, it's a little foggy on when they put that original pool in. A few years ago, we redid the whole thing. Although the original pool is there, the same place, 95% of the rest of it. Jimmy Mitchell, thank you very much. And team.
Yeah, I've heard there's a pool there. Yeah.
There's a pool there. Come on, you had to fish your ball out of there when you were a 22 handicapper.
That's true.
But the pool scene in Caddyshack reminds me of what you just said. Billy O'Keefe, will come to him in a minute, told me that when they did Caddyshack, they had no script. They had an original idea, but every day they were writing it. Brian Doyle Murray, I guess Harold Ramis.
Yeah. With those people, how could you have a script? They see funny things as they occur.
You have a script that says, show up on the first tee and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe exactly Spalding throws up in a portion on 11. Maybe Ted Knight gets hit in the whats.
Yeah, and Who Spalding gets nothing and likes it.
You'll get nothing and like it. Lacey Underall we didn't see that one coming, but I understand she's still out there.
I'm wearing the latest edition of the Fleet Week, which we should mention. Wingfoot in its centennial year and many years, I think this might have been the 12th year,
Right.
Opens up at courses to the military for a day. And it's just a fantastic event. Everybody has a great time. The soldiers, veterans, and active young people. It's a treat for them, and it's a blessing that we get to, in some small way, thank them by providing this venue for a day. And it's awesome, and it raises money for good causes. This year they were raising money for the Marine Scholarship Fund, which helps soldiers put their children through college, because soldiers don't make any money. They don't make a lot of money. And the Marine Scholarship Fund has a 91% success rate in graduation, which is
Wow.
Probably 40% higher than the nation's average. So
there's no scholarship close to that.
No scholarship close to it.
Peter Sweetser, Brian Devaney, and John Fargus have a lot to do with that. He's had a lot of support. Those ships roll in right Wednesday down the west side of Manhattan, and those people that come in are looking for a little R&R, and they get respect. You had someone that played with you, right?
Yep, he was a captain in the Marines. He works in the Pentagon. I can't tell you any more than that, or they'll come for me. But he was a delightful guy to play with. He had a great time. We had a great time with him. He made some major league putts. We did not win anything, but we all won because we had the honor of watching these people. The amazing amount of discipline and organization involved with them. They're gentlemen and ladies of the highest standard. Why wouldn't you want to put their kids through school with the families they're in now? So kudos to the people at Wingfoot who thought this up. And as I say all the time, Wingfoot gets it right, and they got this right.
Back to the 100th though now. So that's the next day. That's Saturday.
That was the next day.
Just like we're looking at here. By the way, let's divert 1 second. Where did you take this picture? This is an outstanding picture. Did you tell the clouds just to be where they were supposed to be at this time?
I have a working relationship with the sky. I got lucky. It was a nice windy day. I took about 50 pictures till finally got one where you could actually read the date up there. But against that blue sky, it was kind of irresistible. I was walking by, I was like, wow, beautiful day. It's just a beautiful place, and this makes it even more so. So I got lucky. You have to get lucky with a camera unless you're Greg Toland or somebody like that.
Right. I went to the pro shop and got a couple of hats, and I was in between the blue one and the white one. But looking at the flag and this white hat, I think I'm overwhelmingly in favor of the white one. The red sticks out a little bit more. Somebody said it depends on what you wear, but people have said, Bobby, you don't have any taste. You decide every color you wear when you go out to play, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So back at
unless you run into Greg Rolfe, the fashion police. So
well, there's a few. Harlan came. I must tell you that Harlan came cigar ready, and he was a fashion spectacular. We sat out there just off of Gio's bar outside. There were people in the circle.
Matty Masisko had the velvet tux.
He had the
matching tux. Shoes.
Probably had the velvet slippers on too.
Yeah.
He was my dinner companion. We had a great time. I heard about.
I think it was Tommy Lynette who said that. I forget where he said the place was upholstered with the same material, but.
Well, Bill Collier said he never saw so many people at Wingfoot in many years that he's been there, and he's been there a long time dancing. And
it's usually just him and his partner dancing after they've won the Nibs or the member guest or the Tilly or whatever litany of things him and Paul Benson win. His teammates.
If they're giving dancing awards, some of the finalists easily could have been. Well, Roy Fugazi was on the dance floor quite a bit. Some of the younger guys, I got to tip my hat to my son Robbie and Jay Lucas, and a lot of his crowd were on the dance floor. There were so many beautiful people. I'm telling you, the friend of mine told me he had this band that was outstanding for his wedding, young guy, George D'Ambrosio. And he said the same band is coming to Wingfoot. I said, how can that be bad, right?
Steve Mara's daughter also for that wedding, same band.
It
A
was
good band.
So, down to the finalists, I'm just gonna say John Lucas won the dance contest, and we'll just leave it at that and let people figure out why.
Well, you're talking about a guy who can hit a drive while he's kneeling down, so it's no surprise.
No, that's his brother, but John might be able to,
excuse
yeah.
me. Sorry, John.
Timmy can
Sorry,
do
Tim.
that. John can probably do that, and he probably could have done that easier on Saturday night because I think he was kneeling when he was dancing. But everybody had a great time. We're just having fun with you, John. Jay told me to say that, and then
And the speakers,
right.
I mean, they're all the three main speakers have all been guests on our podcast.
You're right.
Rob Williams, Kenny Ferreter, and the unbelievably talented Billy O'Keefe and excuse me, and
Billy
what's his
Harmon.
name? Oh yeah, Billy Harmon.
Well, there was one guy that was on the program that hasn't really come on yet. Is he stage fright? That Mike the pro, what's his name?
Yeah,
Mike
he's
Gilmore?
he's got some big shoes to step into. But I think Mike can handle it. I think we could throw him some curveballs and he'll hit them out of the park. So I'll get him on one way or the other.
What made things fun for me is I heard from Mike maybe a couple days before. He had an armful of folders, and I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Another meeting. She's got a centennial meeting." I said, "What they got?" He says, "I've given 3 minutes and 36 seconds precisely to make mention of 4,652 people, members, past members, wives,
And I can't
older
say
members,
etc.
and I can't say etc. So it's going to seem like I'm going to be like an auctioneer when I'm up there." But he did manage to make a few wisecracks, which is funny.
He's the best at that. And he has a great understanding of the membership, and the membership has a great understanding of him. So he makes people famous.
Didn't Billy O'Keefe tell us he wasn't a joke teller when we had him on?
Yeah, but then he actually kind of slipped into a joke and had everybody on the edge of their seat.
I didn't know where that
as Billy is wont to do.
I didn't know where that wall joke was going to go.
I didn't
But
either.
boy, did I get hit with a wall because it was. And trust me, I think of all the speeches or times he's presented, I think that's the first joke he pulled out of the hat.
I think so too.
So he's one for one. That joke hit.
Yep. And if you weren't there, you'll just have to ask around about the joke because I'm not going to repeat it now.
I can only say if Johnny Carson were alive today, he'd be worried because that timing that Billy has is as good as Milton Berle, Bob Hope, Henny Youngman. I mean, forget it. In modern day,
Yeah, no doubt. And he doesn't even make himself laugh most of the time. He cracks a smile once in a while, but the dry sense of humor.
How about our Lefty Gomez, our pull him out of the bullpen, Billy Harmon? How good was he?
As Chris says, he's got a gift. He's a remarkable person. And if you've listened to our podcast in the past, you know what we're talking about. He knows how to tell a story. He's got it all. And his opening statement about loving coming to Wingfoot because they know him as Claude's son, not Butch's brother, is hilarious. And he told me on the side, anytime I can take a shot at Butch, I will. So must have been great growing up in that family, those four boys competing with each other, with all the talent they had, with all the camaraderie they had. It must have been great.
Well, as Billy said, were it not for Craig Wood, the only place you'd find a Harmon name would be in the phone book.
Right.
And what a break. And as he also says, which I think is pretty outstanding, is the confluence of events that have to happen for certain things to get there. And if you think about Claude Harmon, clearly one of the best golfers of his era, even at later ages in the 59 Open to finish third. and
Right.
maybe would have won it had Billy Casper not brought his putter,
Right.
good putter. Claude, this day and age, would have enlightened us with as many stories and shared as many looks into the lives of other people. But Billy Harmon's done that for us. What a wonderful thing. And if you go look at the podcast, the Best of Billy Harmon Stories Part 1 is just put up this week. And they're little snippets of his half a dozen episodes that he's done for us. And he's been gracious to say, guys, whenever you need me, I'm your Lefty Gomez. Pull me out of the bullpen. I'm ready to go, right?
Yeah. And each time is a revelation. So we'll be back to you again, Billy. And thanks for your previous escapades with us. And we hope there'll be many more.
Well, I should plug, I met his lovely wife, and I'm sure you did too, Robin, how great she is. And between she and Billy, the Harmon Recovery Foundation. So those people who are watching this, who have a generous spot in their heart, check them out. They're on the web and you can donate. They give 100% of their proceeds.
Donations. That's how it is. And those people need help, and they need not just money, but they need the people to help guide them out of the woods, so to speak. And as someone who's been in the woods and gotten out, as well as Billy Harmon and many, many other people that I know, it's a hard thing to do, but it's at the same time, it's a blessing, because it it basically forces you to recognize your other blessings. Once the fog clears, you realize how important so many other things are in this world. And who better than Billy Harmon to demonstrate that?
Yeah, fresh air. Fresh air is a blessing. There was a lot of fresh air on Saturday night. Again, for 800 people to come in this tightly, obstacle laden club that we have, the US.
I was at table 302.
Yeah. We had to have binoculars to see Rob Williams on the stage. And by the way, Rob did an outstanding job,
as he always does.
His leadership is unbelievable as we go through this 100th. And if you haven't listened to Rob, he's on the podcast episodes. You should take a listen to him. He's been around here quite a long time. He's doing great with the stewardship. What else is going on? What about this logo? Do you like this logo?
Sure. What's not, whoever gets the creativity stuff, we take things for granted, but a logo's a logo. It's what it stands for that's so important. And as Billy Harmon pointed out, and Rob Williams and everybody that was there understands, Wingfoot is more than a golf club. Aside from being what the greatest 36 holes in golf, which it seems to be, certainly among our listeners would agree with that. I certainly agree with it. Not that I've played every 36 hole facility in the world, but how much better could it be than this, if at all? But what ends up happening here, and Rob Williams said this in our episode with him, the people, they're what make Wingfoot Wingfoot. And as Billy Harmon said, it's not the US Opens and the majors that come to Wingfoot that validate Wingfoot. It's the membership. We already know Wingfoot's great. And so does the USGA, or they wouldn't come here, or the PGA. So Tillinghast did a job here that can't be duplicated, won't ever be duplicated. And since then, the leadership and founders of this club for generations and generations have done the right thing time after time after time to make it the place that it is. And as what Billy said, how many places in the world can a guy that caddies as a kid become the president of the very club he was caddying at? It's just a remarkable place.
Again, for those of us that had the opportunity to go there, you see great representation of all our friends, from the Maras to the Williamson family, to the Thompson family, to, family after family. At Rob Little I ran into. I mentioned Harlan Beatrice, Brian Marcel, the Fugazi family. These are people that are like the wallpaper. Greg Rolfe and Joe Summers, and their brides. They just made the evening so great. Yeah. It was great for my wife to see so many people that we haven't seen that you don't know always see the spouses, right?
Yeah, and even some of the Pelham guys.
Yeah, there was a shout out. Be careful, be on your best behavior, Pelham guys. Well, I think as you mentioned this, I mean, in the '60s there was a influx of Waikagill, New Rochelle people in that wave, and there's something like that with Pelham over the last what would you say, 10 years or so?
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
and,
we know
and
a
those
lot.
are great places. Waikagill is a wonderful club, as is Siwanoy and so many other places. And everybody finds happiness in their golf clubs. But I just think Wingfoot's basically twice the membership of a lot of those clubs because there's two courses and there's a lot of history, 100 years of it now, and arguably the best golf architect of all time. You might say Alistair McKenzie, or you might say Donald Ross, or a number of different people, but you're never going to leave Tillinghast out of the discussion. We are very fortunate.
Yeah, I think there's less. I'm not in favor of Tillinghast architecture than I've heard about some others. I've been critical of the bowl greens at some of the Donald Ross locations. I think that's a bad generalization. They're not all like that. I think there's some
Right.
great venues, right? Yeah.
But you can't, the understanding that Tillinghast had, which I don't think any of us really have. One of the things about Tillinghast and any other great designer is people don't realize exactly why they love the course. That's the artistry of it. It's just they love the course. They can't detail it's because if you got to hit it over here, you hit it over there, the way the greens are, the blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can go into those details and whatever, but the fact that you can't get enough of a place speaks for itself. You don't need to know the reasons.
That's right. And we've talked about this. It's worth talking about again. There's no blind shots at Wingfoot. We have clubs surrounding Wingfoot.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm not going to pick on Appomattox, but I will. There's some blind shots.
Well,
Where
wasn't
you
it
can't
Craig
see where
Harmon
you're
who
going.
said, we asked him what his favorite hole? He was like, how about 1 through 36?
Right. Right.
So,
There's not really a lot of water. I think these last 2 weeks since I was up there, it was the wind. That north wind and then Steve jacking up the greens on Sunday a week or so ago to 16 on the stimp meter didn't help my putting game.
but the greens, they're so good. They're so challenging. They're fair. There's places to hit it and places not to hit it. You can use them as your 14th club, as I always say. My brother Neil, you go out with him one day and you're going to learn to appreciate those greens if you didn't already. When he shows you can hit the putt here, you can hit the putt there, you can hit the putt here. Remarkable. So, for those that are focused on it, those greens pop out. And Neil showed them to me, and I don't play them where I don't try and hit some of the putts he would hit, the backstop putts, or the take it around this way, you can take it around that way, confounding my caddy's advice.
So we played the West Course the other day. Now that we just played it, what you're thinking about at least the first 7 holes? What's the trickiest green to putt? If you take 1 West out, let's leave 1 West out, 2 through 6.
I think 2 is pretty tricky in its own way because there's so many pin placements on 2, as we discussed when we talked about the hole. That when you put it in the back left up there, if you don't get the ball back there, that uphill putt that breaks this way, then it breaks that way. The pin could be 3 feet this way or 3 feet that way, and it's a different break. It, in a way, it's a hard green to understand. I think that would be the one that I think would be the most confounding, other than 1 West. 1 West isn't. There's no mystery to it. It's just brutal. You have to know what to do there, or you're going to get 4 putt.
I always said that 2 West is different from a lot of other holes because from the back of the green to the front, it went down. Whether it was a couple of degrees or even 1 degree, it went down.
Yeah,
And if you've never been there before, you don't see that, and you wonder why you putted it off the green or 20 feet by.
right.
But 15 West is pretty much that way. It's pretty hard to say if you're in the back of 15 West, that's not a downhill putt the whole way. A
Yeah,
little bit in the middle.
I'm 1 West, but I mean, 15 West is a remarkable green.
Yeah.
A remarkable green, and almost, in my opinion, the most rewarding hole to par out there is 15 West, because you have to play it right the whole way. You can't miss a shot on that hole. You might make a par, but it's not going to be easy. But even hitting that green in 2, depending on where the flag is, it's just it's a pleasure to par that hole, as it is 1 West. It's a pleasure to par that one.
1 West and 15 are kind of similar in that if you miss it left or right in either one of the bunkers on 1 West or left or right on 15, if the pin's in the middle, you got a chance. You can get it up there inside of 8 or 10 feet and make a par. But if on 1 West it's in the back right, or 15 West it's in the back right, and you're in those bunkers,
and you didn't get any lessons from Claude or Billy Harmon, you're doomed.
No, I don't think you're going to get it up and down. If you do get in the back right of either of those spots, you're going to have a short putt. But getting it back there, you could hit it out of bounds too.
Well, now that we're talking about the course, should we get to 8 West? Yeah, let's say goodbye to everybody. Wish Wingfoot another happy birthday for 100 years, and then
all the reviews I've heard of, 99.8% of them are really positive. You never ever please 100% of everybody, but I just think it was well worth me squeezing into that tight tuxedo that I own.
Yeah.
You owned one, or you bought one?
I bought one for $29 more than I could have rented it for.
So there you go. So you got into that, and you got a sporty new, beautiful, shiny tuxedo, right? You can use again in another 100 years.
Yeah.
I was saying something to a couple of our fellow members that are our age. I said, let's make the goal to make the 125th celebration. I said that to our new Chris, the new manager, and so forth. That'd be a kind of nice goal, to be here in 25 years and see what the place looks like. What do you think?
If I can still see in 25 years, I'll be happy to come.
Well, anyway, this has been a great opportunity.
Maybe by then I can shoot my age.
Maybe you shoot your age this year.
The longtime member and one of the oldest members, my Uncle Tom, said, when someone said, who wants to live to be 100 anyway, he said 99-year-olds.
Hats off to everybody that spends their free time to make that.
Maureen Brown, Ken Ferreter, Rob Williams, and everybody else that put it all together. Thank you very much.
Wingfoot team, the team that helped put that on. And I know there are a number of other great celebrations going to happen this year. Hopefully they'll be as well attended and well executed.
Wingfoot has influenced golf, not modern day golf the way it is now, because clubs are different. And I get all that. I work at one that's different. But Wingfoot has had more influence on the real golfers, in my opinion, than any club I've ever been around. Nothing's even close to it.
Thanks for joining us today.
Billy Harmon.
We really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity.
And please subscribe to the show and hit
Claude
the bell
Harmon.
icon so you get notified.
Movie classics.
New episodes.
Mark Gable.
Hit them
Odd
hard
Job.
and hit them off.
Best 36 holes.